Imagine a landscape that just takes your breath away, the majestic Himalayas, rivers carving these ancient paths, vibrant green valleys. That's Himachal Pradesh, a state in northern India. It's famous for its beauty, right? A destination for countless travelers and home to communities, nestled pretty peacefully in its terrain. But then, in July 2023, this, well, idyllic picture was brutally shattered. The monsoon rains, usually a source of life, they transformed into this relentless, destructive fury. So today we're taking a deep dive into those July 2023 floods in Himachal Pradesh. Our mission really is to go beyond just the headlines. We're using a comprehensive situation report as our guide here. We'll explore the full scale of this natural disaster, from the initial events, their widespread impact, all the way to the incredible response efforts and the long, challenging road to recovery. By the end of this deep dive, you'll have, hopefully, a really granular, multifaceted understanding of how these kinds of events unfold and what it truly takes for communities to confront and then rebuild after such immense devastation. Okay, so to really get a sense of the scale of what happened, we first need to understand the place itself. Can you maybe paint a picture for us? Himachal Pradesh before July 2023. What kind of place is it, really?
Absolutely. So Himachal Pradesh is nestled squarely in the northern Indian Himalayas. It's a state that's very much defined by its geography. It borders Jammu and Kashmir up north, Punjab and Haryana to the west and southwest, Uttarakhand southeast, and it even shares an international border with Tibet or China to the east. Its capital, Shimla, is a classic hill station. These high-altitude towns developed as cool retreats, but they're often situated on steep, geologically active slopes, which is a pretty crucial detail for what we're discussing. The terrain there is incredibly diverse. You've got fertile foothills, then these towering snow-capped peaks, all crisscrossed by major rivers like the Bees, Sutlej, Chenab, Ravi, and Yamuna. These rivers are, well, literally the lifeblood of the region. And economically, the state really thrives on its natural resources, agriculture, horticulture, forestry. They're huge pillars, capitalizing on those fertile lands and varied climates. But just as significant, maybe even more so in some ways, is tourism. Millions flock there for the scenic beauty, the adventure, the serene hill stations. It's a critical part of the state's income.
And the human story there is also really compelling. The 2011 census showed a population of about 68.56 lakh people. That's roughly 6.8 million, and a staggering 89% living in these scattered rural villages. And you see these incredible variations in population density. In remote areas like Lahal and Spiti, it's as low as maybe 2 persons per square kilometer. But then in places like Hamirpur, it jumps way up to 369 persons per square kilometer. It's also worth noting Himachal Pradesh has a strong record on gender equality and female literacy, much higher than the national average.
Yeah, and this pre-incident context, especially the geography and the demographics, it's absolutely crucial for understanding the impact of the floods. What it reveals is this kind of delicate ecosystem. You have traditional livelihoods, which were perfectly adapted to what were stable monsoon patterns. But now they're sort of on a collision course with these escalating climate extremes. The very river valleys that are the arteries of life, well, they become the conduits of destruction in events like this. And those dispersed rural communities, while they look picturesque, they become incredibly difficult to reach when, every road is suddenly cut off. The report itself points out that July and August are historically disaster-prone months because of heavy rainfall, often triggering landslides. So in many ways, the stage was already set for heightened vulnerability.
Right. So with that foundation laid, let's turn to the heart of the report. What exactly happened in July 2023? What led to such widespread and devastating consequences?
Well, the primary trigger was just relentless, heavy rainfall. It started around June 24th and just kept going without pause right through July. This wasn't just your typical monsoon season. It was a genuine extreme weather event that completely overloaded the natural systems across the entire region.
And the sheer volume of natural events the report recorded is just unprecedented. It documents a colossal 5,480 landslides across the state. I mean, just to put that into perspective, Kulu district alone saw 2,600 of these, and Shimla experienced nearly 2,000, 1,960 to be exact. Then you add 14 distinct cloudburst incidents, with an astonishing 12 of them happening just in Kulu. And finally, 83 flash floods were documented, mostly in Kangra with 25 and Kulu again with 20. That's not just a series of separate events, is it?
No, not at all. What's really crucial to understand here is the compounding effect, the cascading effect. Like, imagine a single landslide blocking a road. That's a problem, obviously. Now, picture thousands of landslides, often triggered by these intense cloudbursts, simultaneously wiping out entire road networks, isolating villages, sometimes even altering river courses. This wasn't just a series of separate incidents. It was more like a systemic collapse. It created this exponentially complex challenge for rescue and relief that, few single events could ever match. The sheer intensity and frequency of these events in such a short period, it just overwhelmed everything.
So what did all this mean for the people of Himachal Pradesh and for the state's vital infrastructure, its economy?
Well, the human cost, as the report details it up to July 30th, was just devastating.
Yeah.
A total of 187 people tragically lost their lives. On top of that, 34 were reported missing, and 215 were injured. And if you look at an earlier snapshot, say by July 15th, 70 deaths were attributed directly to flash floods, landslides, and fire. Another 41 deaths were due to other heavy rainfall incidents. So that's 111 deaths by that date alone. Even then, 12 people were missing and 121 injured. These aren't just numbers, Each one represents a profound loss for a family, for a community.
Absolutely heartbreaking. And beyond the loss of life, the physical damage to structures was just immense. The report indicates 845 houses were completely destroyed, basically washed away. Another 7,161 suffered partial damage. We're also talking about 241 shops and 2,218 cowsheds affected. That's a total of over 10,000 structures, 10,465 suffering damage. It really paints a picture of just widespread destruction, doesn't it?
It really does. And if you look at the broader implications, the infrastructure damage is equally severe, and it's going to have long-lasting consequences. Over 650 roads, including 3 national highways, like the critical one connecting the Dharamshara to McLaughlins, were either closed or severely damaged. The estimated cost just for road bridge restoration alone is a staggering Rs 1,261.90 crore. To put that in perspective, that's over 150 million US dollars, an immense sum just for connectivity. Essential services also took a massive hit. Damage to irrigation and water supply schemes amounted to Rs 1,411.78 crore, and electricity infrastructure, poles, transformers, suffered losses of Rs 1,382.56 crore. Whole communities were cut off without power, without clean water.
Wow, and this disaster also created these huge economic ripple effects, didn't it? Hitting various sectors hard. Tourism, obviously a major pillar of the state's economy, saw hotel occupancy just plummet. The Himachal Pradesh Tourism Development Corporation even offered a 50% discount on room rents until mid-September, just trying to encourage visitors back. Agriculture suffered immensely too. 28,495 hectares of agricultural land damaged, over 1,000 hectares completely washed away. That resulted in Rs 83.03 crore in crop damage. Horticulture, same story. Significant losses to fruit orchards amounting to Rs 75.57 crore made worse by disease and transportation disruptions. Even livestock wasn't spared. Nearly 400 sheep died from extreme cold in Pin Valley, and a total of 921 animals, sheep, goats, cows, horses, buffaloes were lost. That's another Rs 1.23 crore loss. So this cumulative economic toll, over 5,500 crore rupees, roughly 660 million US dollars by July 30th. What does that really tell us about the fundamental challenge of rebuilding in a region like this?
It tells us this wasn't just about physical repairs. It was a profound disruption to the entire economic fabric, to the very livelihoods of countless families. For a state where so many people depend directly on the land, on seasonal visitors, such a comprehensive hit across agriculture, horticulture, tourism, even livestock. It means recovery isn't just about replacing what was lost. It's about fundamentally reimagining how these sectors can become more resilient. It's a blow that's going to resonate for years, impacting people's ability to earn a living.
It's a truly devastating picture, but what about the response? How did aid groups step up to address this widespread crisis?
Well, the government did show a degree of preparedness, and they initiated immediate response measures. Before the monsoon even hit, the State Disaster Management Authority, or SDMA, that's the main state body coordinating crisis response. They conducted mock drills for flash floods and landslides on June 8th and communication drills on July 9th. There was a video conference on June 22nd with deputy commissioners specifically to discuss monsoon preparedness. And for the immediate response, quick response teams, QRTs, were formed. The National Disaster Response Force, the NDRF, was strategically prepositioned in key areas like Mandi, Nurpur, Kulu, and Rampur. Machinery was also deployed pretty rapidly to start clearing roads. On top of that, all 12 districts were under constant monitoring. Our 71.50 crore war was released under the SDRF and NDRF, that's the State and National Disaster Funds for Relief and Restoration. Early warnings were regularly sent out, and they provided 30 landslide sensors for monitoring in the vulnerable districts. There was also high-level coordination. You had review meetings by the Chief Minister on July 10th, the Chief Secretary on July 13th, and a ministerial committee was formed specifically to oversee operations.
And it wasn't just the government efforts, right? Humanitarian organizations played an absolutely crucial role here. The report mentions specific NGOs, Natural Environmental and Health Association, CASA, HAI, Doers, Change Alliance, Save the Children, and Sphere India were all involved. They provided essential support, things like vital wash kits, dry rations, shelter kits, along with, much needed psychosocial support for the affected communities. And to sort of streamline all these different efforts, Sphere India organized an interagency coordination meeting on July 14th and activated its Unified Response Strategy, or URS, matrix. For those of us maybe trying to visualize this, what does a URS matrix actually do to help ensure effective relief on the ground?
That's a great question. Think of the URS matrix basically as a central clearinghouse, a coordination tool. Its main purpose is to make sure that different NGOs don't end up duplicating efforts. You don't want 3 organizations sending identical relief kits to the same village while another nearby village gets nothing. So it helps identify the critical gaps, coordinate logistics, allocate resources efficiently, all based on a shared understanding of the needs assessment. It's really about bringing some order to what can quickly become a very chaotic, very fragmented response, maximizing the impact of every donation and every volunteer hour.
Right. Moving beyond the big statistics now, this deep dive also gives us a really crucial look at the ground level, doesn't it? Capturing the immediate experiences of those affected. What did the primary assessments in specific villages actually reveal about the challenges faced by ordinary people?
Yeah, the village-level assessments paint a really stark human picture. In Bangalabasti, Bihuli Gaon, Mandi, for instance, 12 houses were completely washed away. Another 10 were severely damaged. And the report specifically highlighted how poorly constructed houses, often built with weak foundations and lacking official documentation, directly contributed to the scale of that loss. Tragically, one elderly woman in that village lost her life, not directly from the floodwaters, but from the sheer trauma of the event itself. Then you look at Raghunath Padar, also in Mandi. 15 houses were affected, leaving 25 people in really dire need. The report noted that this disaster surpassed a previous incident back in 1995, which suggests an escalating threat level. And critically, assessments there observed a noticeable duplication of response efforts, stemming from a lack of coordination between various organizations, which just reinforces why that URS matrix approach is so vital. Another really critical situation was found in Dongabasti, Badanu Gaon, again in Mandi. There, 6 out of 9 families were found to be in urgent need. And picture this.
1 mosque, 9 cowsheds, 2 kitchens, 4 washrooms, and 4 houses were completely destroyed. People there were literally rescued from being 8 to 10 feet under the ground, buried in mud and debris. Just horrifying. Then in Pandu, another highly vulnerable spot in Mandi, the floodwaters rose an alarming 8 to 10 feet. 15 houses were completely damaged there, and over 250 houses and shops were affected in some way. The government did provide some financial assistance, offering 1 lakh rupees, that's about $1,200 for house or shop owners, and 50,000 rupees for renters. But it's a very long road from getting that payment to actually achieving full recovery.
And these specific, really harrowing stories, they connect directly to the broader, urgent sectoral needs identified in the report, don't they? For shelter and recovery, there's obviously this dire need for rebuilding and repairing damaged houses, damaged cowsheds, plus the immense task of just removing all the mud and silt. Advocacy with the Bakra Bees Management Board for vital safety measures is also flagged as crucial, especially regarding water releases from dams. Then, in terms of health and hygiene, immediate medical support and hygiene kits are needed, with special attention needed for vulnerable groups like women and children who always face unique challenges in these post-disaster scenarios. The loss of income from damaged cowsheds and shops just underscores the widespread need for livelihood support opportunities. For animals, there's a critical requirement for animal feed and veterinary assistance for the surviving livestock. And for WASH, that's water, sanitation and hygiene, supplying clean water, constructing washrooms, distributing hygiene kits are all absolutely essential for basic well-being and, crucially, for preventing outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Okay, so shifting our focus now towards the longer-term view, what's the actual plan for recovery and trying to build back better? What were the key outcomes from those coordination efforts between the government and the NGOs as they look towards the future?
Well, the coordination meetings between the government bodies and the NGOs, they did lay out a fairly clear path forward, acknowledging the immense task that lies ahead. The SDMA is now focusing on long-term recovery, significantly improving the early warning systems, the EWS, and conducting a comprehensive post-disaster needs assessment, which is known as a PD&A. They're also exploring ham radio connectivity for emergencies. That's actually a really critical step for communication in such remote, often cut-off areas during crises. In Kulu, specifically, the Deputy Commissioner emphasized priorities like protecting the 2,000 partially damaged houses, establishing longer-term housing solutions, and constructing crucial Bailey bridges. They specifically need tarpaulin sheets and are looking to engage with steel specialist organizations for restoration work. Meanwhile, over in Mandi, the deputy commissioner outlined plans for temporary shelters, tackling the very complex task of relocating 16 leprosy-affected families in Raghunath Badar and launching resilience building and urban planning campaigns, especially for communities residing near rivers. And the state interagency group, the IAG, they also stressed system strengthening, enhancing coordination even further, proactively addressing encroachment in vulnerable areas that includes houses and even schools built too close to danger zones, and building the capacity of community members and volunteers, making sure they're better equipped for future events.
Right. So to sort of summarize those overarching mid and long-term recovery goals, they include advocating for the strategic relocation of houses and buildings away from these hazard-prone regions, strengthening communication channels, including establishing that vital ham radio connectivity, prioritizing the repair and reconstruction of houses, especially for the most vulnerable populations, and conducting that comprehensive PD&A while really mainstreaming the Unified Response Strategy, the URS matrix, to ensure a truly coordinated and effective emergency response going forward. So we've journeyed through quite a bit here, understanding the unique geography of Himachal Pradesh, witnessing the immediate and devastating impact of the July 2023 floods. We examined the coordinated governmental and humanitarian response and explored the detailed plans emerging for recovery and rebuilding. It really reinforces the immense complexity of disaster response, doesn't it? From that immediate relief effort right through to the arduous task of building long-term resilience.
Absolutely. And I think this report's underlying message is really profound. It's about knowledge. Knowledge of a region's vulnerabilities, knowledge of past incidents, and knowledge of the detailed granular impacts. All of this is vital, not just for understanding what happened, but for effectively preparing for and responding to such catastrophic events in the future. It's really about learning from every single detail, every life lost, every structure damaged, to try and build a safer future.
Which really raises an important question for all of us, I think. As we see the increasing frequency, the increasing intensity of extreme weather events globally, how do we balance rapid economic development and tourism, especially in these incredibly sensitive ecological zones like Himachal Pradesh, with the urgent need to protect communities and livelihoods? What does building back better truly mean in practice in such a vulnerable region? And how can we ensure it creates lasting resilience for generations to come rather than, just repairing what was lost today? We really hope this deep dive encourages you to reflect on maybe your own role in understanding these global challenges and supporting sustainable, resilient development wherever you might be.